So one thing that I hate about the truck that I have, which is a 2016 Freightliner Cascadia, is that when there's an issue going on, it doesn't give me codes. You know, it just gives me a little message on the dashboard for me to take the truck to go get a service. But luckily for me, I have the OTR diagnostic tool, so I'm about to hook it up and see what's going on with the truck. So here I am currently loading the OTR diagnostic tool, which is an application on my Android phone. Pretty nice application. I love to use this app anytime I have issues with the truck. So I'm just gonna let it connect. So here I am on the OTR diagnostic dashboard of the application. So it currently gave me one active fault code. So down here at the bottom, I'm just gonna go to fault codes and check out, see what's going on, what code it's giving me. So this is the current code that's giving me SPN 5444 FMI1, engine crankcase breather oil separator speed. So 126 times occurred overview. Engine crankcase breather oil separator speed too low. Description: fault code sets when the engine oil separator speed is less than 3000 RPM for 45 seconds. Fault systems, no reaction. Repair procedure: faulty crankcase breather, faulty engine crankcase breather oil separator speed sensor, damaged circuit between pins, etc., etc. You can pause it to read the rest of that. Additional information: engine running for greater than 1 minute with the typical enabling conditions met. So it's telling me it's giving me an issue with the engine crankcase breather oil separator. So the engine crankcase breather oil separator, it's pretty easy to replace that. You could probably even do it over the road. So I didn't really have any type of any symptoms going on with my truck. The only thing that I noticed was the low oil pressure. So this right here. So this was usually hanging around, which is, I think this is 12.5 on idle. And then when it's running, it was at 37.5 when it was running on the road, which normally when it idles, it's closer to 20, 25-ish. It's a little bit higher. And then when it's running, it's closer to 50. So that was the big symptom that I noticed was the engine oil pressure, but I didn't have no oil spills or anything like that on the floor. I know some trucks, some crankcase, they do that, but not with mine. I just noticed that the oil pressure was pretty low. So the place that I went to go buy this part was in Lubbock, Texas. That's where I live by. They have a Freightliner dealership. So if you are going to take it to a dealership, make sure you have your core, because they will charge you a core charge, which I'm about to go over the prices that they charge me. So depending where you buy it at, you know, different dealerships, maybe buy it online, different states, etc. Everywhere is going to be a different price, but I'm about to show y'all how much I paid for mine. So when you go buy the part, you're going to need 3 parts. You're going to need the crankcase assembly, you're going to need the gasket, and you're going to need the sensor. So for the sensor, I believe it's from 2014 to like 2018. I think that's when they started putting the sensors in, but double check with the dealership to make sure if your truck needs a sensor or not, because I didn't know that mine needed a sensor. So I had to go the next day back to the dealership to go get the sensor. And I did go return the core charge after that the following day also. So they ended up reimbursing me for the core. But I'm about to show you how much I spent on this part. Alright, so here we go. We have Lubbock truck sales. That's when I bought it. So I'm about to zoom in. I did buy some other few things, but you know, I'm not gonna pay attention to that on this deal. So we have the breather assembly crankcase, which that ran me for $330.79. And here is the part number. If you want to pause it, you can, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the item number in the description. That's the way it's easier for y'all to look it up online or whatever. But here, the crankcase breather assembly, the core. So they charged me $144 for the core, because I didn't take it. Remember, I forgot to take it apart and take it to them to get it replaced. So looking close to $500 for those 2 parts. But that's just for the crankcase breather assembly. So remember, you need the gasket and you need the sensor. So the following day I had to go back, which they reimbursed me for the crankcase after I took it off and took it back to them. And then I have the crankcase breather, separator, the sensor. So here's the part number, put in the description, and then here's how much it costs for the sensor itself, $38.41. And here's the crankcase breather gasket. Here's the part number, I'm gonna put in the description again, and that costs about 10 bucks. So total, you're looking about, let's say 50 between the gasket and the sensor, 50 plus 330. So almost around 400 bucks for the whole crankcase assembly and gasket and sensor. So this part is pretty easy to replace. You know, you need a couple of tools. I am going to put a video of how I replaced it. You know, I'm not a diesel mechanic. This is my first truck I ever owned. But if I can do it, anybody can do it as long as you have the parts that you need. You know, luckily for me, I have this also to help me diagnose the issue and save me, I don't know, couple hundred bucks, possibly more, if I would have taken it to the shop and get them to diagnose it and get them to replace that part, etc. So I am gonna put a video of how I replaced it. But again, you know, hopefully it helps somebody out. I'm not the best at recording while I fix the truck, stuff like that. But if I can do it, you can also do it. And if you're interested in getting one of these, you know, I'll put the link in the description also. Y'all have a good one. Peace. So you have 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to take off, and then this part you have to take off, which is really easy. You just squeeze it. It's just put it to right there. It's pretty much just squeeze it and take it off. There's a bolt. And I'm on the passenger side by the steer tire, which this is a 2016 Freightliner Cascadia DD15. So here's the new one. Here's a part number to the new one, the crankcase. But you are going to need three things. It's all sold separately. So you're going to need the crankcase, which I just showed you, and you're going to need the gasket, which is sold separately, and the speed sensor, which is sold separately. And I'm gonna get the part number for the speed sensor once I go up to the dealership and get that number. I'll show y'all. And apparently one of the symptoms that this is a faulty crankcase is that it spills oil through right here. You just have a bunch of oil spill, which on mine, if you look at the oil pan, it has some spill, but not atrocious to where you're gonna be able to tell that that's the problem. But one of the problems that I saw that I knew was the issue also was that the oil pressure on the dash inside the truck was very low. It was around 12 or 13 when I was idling. Normally it's around 20-ish.